So a lot of you guys know that I have a pretty insane schedule. I'm getting up 3:30 in the morning, and it is go, go, go until 9, 10 o'clock at night, sometimes even 11. But see, here's the question. Why do I do it? How do I do it? Do I really actually do it? Or, like a lot of things, do I just do it for the video? Let's get into it. Hi, my name's Jacob. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, I'm a photographer, videographer, college student, pilot in training, a bunch of other stuff, and you are here, and I run a crazy schedule. I'm gonna do a day in the life video with me back when I get back to school. I'm currently back home right now, doing a couple online classes, but I thought I would talk a little bit about how I keep up the schedule I do. Quite a few people are like, is that really sustainable? And I'm like, well, for me, yeah, kind of. Here's why. See, a lot of people, when you look at these insane productivity videos where it's like, I got up at 4 a.m. for a week, I did this, I did that. A lot of it is just for the video. Now, when the camera turns off at the end of the video, the experiment's done and they go back to whatever they were doing. See, I have a different philosophy. It's really hard to just jump directly into a new schedule. It's really hard to change your entire life. Kind of like the New Year's resolution idea, it's really hard to flip a switch and just do it consistently. So I thought to myself, that's not gonna work. I've seen it 1,000 times before. What can I do that'll actually work? And I came up with some ideas, and then I executed them, and it's working. See, we're going to break this down to a couple main ideas. We're going to have the idea, we're going to have the beginning steps of execution, the full execution, and the resultant. I like things laid out. That's going to be our outline for this video. Now, let's go and start. So, the idea, right? The idea was to get up crazy early, pack as much stuff into my day as possible. So how do I do that? Well, simply put, I have to get up on time. Now, it's really hard to get up on time when you're used to getting up at 6 o'clock and all of a sudden your alarm's going off at 3:30, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Trust me, I know. It's miserable. So how do you do it, but also be able to roll out of bed? Well, one way you can do it, if you have more time, is you can just slowly back up your clock 30 minutes a day. That's what a lot of people say. It lines up with your REM sleep, all these things. And you just keep slowly backing it up until you're waking up at the time you want to wake up. Sure, great, it works. But I would suggest that takes a little too much time. I would offer this idea as a solution to that. So what I did is I'm like, okay, I'm getting up at 6 o'clock for a 6:30 meeting. I leave the house at 7, whatever, we're cool. I want to get up early. So I looked at myself and I'm like, if I want to get up at 3:30, if I want to get up at 4, I want to get up at 3:30, well, then I should just get up at 3:30. Now, that sounds very, optimistic, but it wasn't all, daisies and butterflies. So I set my alarms. Now, I know it takes me a little bit of time to wake up, so I set alarms starting at like 2:45. I'm not kidding, it was rough. And what I learned is once I started doing that, I wouldn't worry about getting up and doing stuff immediately. For the most part, it was just me getting up and waking up and going through the motions of waking up and creating soft habits, not hard habits, just soft habits. Get up, start pulling myself out of deep sleep, changing my sleep patterns to allow myself to wake up earlier and earlier. By the end of the first couple days, I was expecting alarm to go off and I was waking up a lot easier. Now, it was only a couple days. I'm also only 23, so it's going to vary based on use case, based on person who's doing it. But the concept still stands. It might take you a week, but by just backing up your alarm earlier than you want to get up, your body will slowly start doing its natural wake-up cycles earlier and earlier. Now, let's continue on. How does my schedule change when I'm not recording a video first thing in the morning? Well, it actually doesn't change much. See, I have a lot of stuff going on at school. I'm the school's social media specialist / advisor. I edit our school's podcast. I shoot video. I interview people. I have a full workload at school, full school load. And then I work after. But I also bake bread for people, and I bake other baked goods for people just because it's a nice thing to do and it gets some money in on the side. So what I do is I make sure there's always something I can do the instant I wake up. That kind of motivates me to get out of bed, right? So let's say it's a Tuesday morning. My alarm goes off at 3:15, 3:20. I'm out of bed by 3:30. I'm upstairs. I've turned the oven on. I've pulled my bread off the back porch. Hopefully it didn't freeze considering it's winter. And now all of a sudden I'm doing these things. Like, I know what I need to do. The stove's turned on for my oatmeal. The coffee pot's plugged in so I can start making coffee. There's all these things. There's a list of things I have to go down. And once all that's going, then I can sit down on the couch and be like, man, it's 3:30. I really don't want to be awake right now, but I have all this stuff going and my body is already fully awake. I may not want to be awake, but I'm awake. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what works for me, right? It's this brute force get up, and then once I'm actually up and out of bed, then everything else kind of filters in, right? Because we all know the hardest part of getting up is actually getting out of bed, right? It's not, oh, it's miserable to get up at 3:30. No, it's miserable to get up at any time of the day. It sucks getting out of bed, but that's the hard part. Get out of bed, everything else will come naturally, right? So it's the brute force is what's really getting me going. Now, the reality is, now here's the kicker, the reality is forcing never works for long term. So it works for a little bit. So how do we create a habit? Well, like many things with habits, you start small and then grow. So what do? I started small. I got up, I did my 3:30, I started making bread, I started doing all these other things. But what I learned is if I'm gonna be at my peak productivity, which is usually in the morning for me, I can't do that first thing at 3:30. I have to get up, I have to do these more menial, these mindless tasks. Baking bread doesn't take that long. The dough's already ready. I start the oven, I throw it in the pan, it sits for 15 minutes, I throw it in the oven, whatever. Coffee, I plug it in, I put the coffee grounds in, I push go, whatever. Breakfast, I put a pot, whatever. You get the idea, right? Okay. But what I learned is if I need myself a little more time to wake up, so my coffee brews, I drink it, I do my devotional. If I'm awake by then I can start doing the more important tasks, video editing, writing papers, studying for tests, the other things. And this idea of giving myself the time to wake up is what helped. Now, what also helped? Well, after a couple weeks, maybe a month, I don't remember at this point, of doing that, my boot time, for lack of a better term, right? Like, you turn a computer on, it boots. Think of like a Windows 98 computer. It took forever because spinning hard drives, or go back even further, floppy drives. And what I did, are we still rolling? We're still rolling. Cool. Yeah, I know. What I did was, what I would do was that my boot time slowly got shorter and shorter and shorter, right? So then I started being able to bring those more important tasks earlier and earlier in my morning so I could get more done. That's how I get more productive. Get myself waking up on time, and then slowly bring myself to getting up earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier, and making my more important things earlier and earlier in my morning so I can get more and more done. So then it's not get up at 3:30, dawdle around for 15-20 minutes while the bread starts cooking. No, it's get up, get my laptop out, start editing a podcast while the oven's heating, while my breakfast is making. I'm already halfway through editing a podcast. After that, the bread goes in, I'm editing a video, the bread comes out, I'm making breakfast, I'm writing a paper, I have my devotional going, I have music going, all these things, and I start getting a lot more done in my mornings. So I'm not gonna go into a ton more detail because it is like 11:30 and I need to be in bed right now, but I'm not. So I will catch you guys tomorrow. I know this video is dropping really late tonight, probably like 1 a.m. at this point, good grief. But I will catch you guys tomorrow and we will talk about some more of this stuff. I decided to pull up an old script. This was scripted, and this video was scripted 2 years ago. So you can tell how long I'm behind on my schedule. So that's fun. Yeah, so I will catch you guys tomorrow and we will move on from there. So take it easy, fam. Peace. My camera's also overheating, so that's fun.